Namaskaram. Hello and welcome, hardworking individuals. Do you support the reservation because of the social inequalities of hundreds of years? Or are you against the reservations because it denies the merit to get the chance? Well, whatever may be your comment, but can you tell me who said this? Coming from a humble background from a school predominantly in a semi-slum area in Amravati, a municipal school, I could reach the highest office in the judiciary and contribute in my humble way to nation building because of the Constitution of India. Well, it's none other but the man himself, you can see, CJI Gavai. And today we are going to talk about the recent comment of CJI Gavai on creamy layer application to the scheduled caste. What it is all about, we are going to see all other cases that have been discussed about this creamy layer. So let's get started. First thing first, what was his comment? So Mr. Gawai said that the children of an IS officer cannot be equated with the offspring of a poor agricultural laborer. There he is talking about the reservations where he support the exclusion of creamy layer from SC/ST reservations. Now the constitutional application and the rationale, if we talk about that, then Justice Gavai has argued that the creamy layer concept as established in the Indra Sawhney judgment for the OBCs should also apply to the scheduled caste. We are going to see what was this Indra Sawhney judgment, and because of that he has been very widely criticized. Despite retirement in November 2025, Justice Gavai said, I still hold that judges are not supposed to normally justify their judgments, yet continued defending his interpretation of the Constitution's equality principle. On August 2024, in the landmark judgment where there was 7-judge Constitution bench verdict, Justice Gavai penned a concurring judgment suggesting that states must evolve policies to identify the creamy layer among SC/ST and exclude them from reservation benefits. Now, there was this quote on equality also by Justice Gavai, where he said the trinity of equality, liberty, and fraternity would be necessary to take the country forward in achieving social and economic justice. Drawing from Dr. Ambedkar's views, if we talk about the key constitutional judgment and the legal evolution, let's first talk about the 1992 judgment of Indra Sawhney. This established the creamy layer concept specifically for OBCs, directing that affluent sections within backward classes be excluded from reservation benefits. Then was this E.V. Chinnaiya versus State of Andhra Pradesh 2005, where a 5-judge bench held that SCs constituted sorry guys, a homogeneous group under Article 341 and could not be subclassified for reservation purposes. Now there was this 2006 judgment as well of M. Nagaraj versus Union of India, where the court extended the creamy layer principle to SC/STs in the context of reservation in promotion, establishing 3 constitutional requirements. There was social educational backwardness, inadequate representation, and maintenance of administrative efficiency. Now the next judgments like the Jarnail Singh versus Lakshmi Narayan Gupta 2018, you have the judgment of State of Punjab versus Davendra Singh 2024, and also August 1st 2024 Constitution Bench ruling, where we see a landmark judgment that is 6:1 majority verdict by 7 judges, with Justice Gavai penning a concurring judgment held that subclassification of SC/STs is permissible under Article 16(4), overturning the E.V. Chinnaiya precedent. Sorry guys. Another core argument that support the creamy layer application to SC/ST So the first is the principle of equality. Supporters argue that treating economically privileged members of SC/ST communities the same as economically disadvantaged ones violate the Article 14's equality principle. Now, the targeted social justice, the argument that creamy layer exclusion ensures reservation benefits reach the truly deserving and most marginalized within SC/ST communities, preventing monopolization by better placed sections. Recognition of internal diversity, the 2024 judgment acknowledged that SC/ST communities are not internally homogeneous and contain varying degree of backwardness. And also the data-driven approach, the court emphasized the sub-classification and creamy layer identification must be based on empirical data. Now that data should be there so that they can decide in better way. A major argument against creamy layer, what are that? First is the conflation of OBC and SC/ST issues. Critics argue that the creamy layer principle of OBCs fundamentally differ from SC/STs. And why so? Because the SCs whose discrimination is rooted in caste-based untouchability and social exclusion, not merely economic deprivation. Now, it's also the violation of Ambedkar's constitutional vision because the Union Cabinet and multiple commentators contend that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's constitution, as drafted, explicitly does not include a creamy layer provision for SC/ST reservations. Also, the social discrimination persists despite wealth. Dalit leaders argue that even wealthy SC/ST members face caste-based discrimination and untouchability in society, making economic progress insufficient grounds for reservation exclusion. Now, there is this inadequate representation also that is continuing, that we are seeing that at various bureaucracy and senior government position, we don't have this representation of SC/STs. The practical administrative challenges, like critics highlight that defining uniform economic threshold for creamy layer status creates challenges across diverse regions and subcasts, potentially leading to further intra-community disparities. And also the political weaponization concerns. Opposition parties argue that creamy layer concept is being used as a backdoor strategy to gradually erode the reservation system itself. What about the political and social responses? So Congress party opposition, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, he firmly condemned the creamy layer verdict, calling it a big blow to SC/STs and arguing that as long as untouchability exists in the country, reservations should remain. The Union Cabinet stance is that the constitution as drafted by Ambedkar does not include a creamy layer provision for SC/ST reservation. And the Dalit organization protest. Multiple Dalit and Adivasi organizations organized protest against the sub-classification and creamy layer aspect of the 2024 ruling. We also see that even BJP Dalit leaders and MPs publicly criticized the Supreme Court's creamy layer observations, and Prakash Ambedkar, representing the BRP-BMS, he said that the caste discrimination transcends wealth, citing example that even SC president could not enter certain temples, undermining the creamy layer logic. What about the constitution and theoretical objections? So the Article 14 equality violation, legal scholars argue that excluding SC/STs from reservation based on economic creamy layer status treats unequals equally, violating the constitution's equality guarantee. And the presidential list significance, the constitution's Article 341 empowers only parliament through presidential notification to define scheduled caste as unified category. Now, you see there is this limited imagination critic as well, as academics critic argue that the basing sub-classification solely on economic mobility fails to address centuries of social discrimination that cannot be compensated by upward economic mobility only. And the Mandal Commission origin concerns are also there. The creamy layer concept originated from the Mandal Commission that focused on identify the backward classes. Okay, So these are few of the things that can give you a complete clarity of what Mr. Gavai has said and what are the judicial implications of it related. You also see the contradictory Supreme Court position that is there, along with the confrontation in General Singh judgment. That was the 2018 General Singh ruling applied creamy layer logic to SC/STs while relying on judgments that explicitly limited creamy layer to OBC context. We also have the judgment of V.V. Chinnaiya overturning that we have already seen, and the lack of empirical data framework that we have already talked about. Now, the implementation challenges and the practical concerns, if you see, first and foremost, is the regional diversity complications, where you see that the Indian states have vastly different socioeconomic profiles, making uniform creamy layer threshold problematic. Administrative burden is also there. Identifying and verifying creamy layer status within diverse SC/ST communities could create bureaucratic inefficiencies. The litigation explosion risk is also there. Creamy layer application may open endless litigation between various SC castes, each claiming larger share. And also the unfilled reservation position. Despite existing reservation for SC/STs, many government positions remain unfilled. Critics argue introducing creamy layer further reduces qualified candidates for this position. Now, if we talk about Ambedkar's constitutional intent, he had the foundational principle of trinity of equality. Sorry guys, liberty and fraternity must guide social justice, not mere economic criteria. The scheduled caste and distinct category, Ambedkar ensured Article 341 gave Parliament, not the states. Please remind yourself, it can be asked in the exam. Exclusive authority over SC notification, intent to protect SC interest from political manipulation. And the permanent safeguard vision, where the provisions were envisioned as comprehensive protection against the caste discrimination. Now, the current legal status and the ongoing debates that you can see, Supreme Court hearing is pending. As of August 2025, the Supreme Court decided to hear petitions demanding creamy layer implementation, with hearings scheduled. The bench composition matters. Legal experts note that setting this issue requires a constitutional bench of at least 7 judges. The policy vacuum, states remain unclear on whether and how to implement the creamy layer criteria. And also the political stalemate, the government claims it won't implement creamy layer, yet has not brought constitutional amendment to nullify the judicial suggestion. Now clearly you can see there is this legal ambiguity present there. Now you see this question and try to answer. This will explain whether you have understood this or not, what I have tried to explain you. In the context of reservation policies in India, why is the identification of the creamy layer among scheduled caste and scheduled tribes considered particularly complicated due to regional diversities? You see, because the socio-economic status and degree of marginalization of SC/ST communities can vary significantly between different states and districts, and this we have seen is the correct answer for this, and the correct explanation is also given here. So before you go, a quick question to you. What do you think? Is really the reservation for the SC/STs necessaries, or is it something which is taking away the right of the meritorious candidates? And if it is not taking away the rights of meritorious candidates, what do you think should be done for the 100 years or more than 100 years of inequalities, social inequalities with the SC/STs, and what we can give them to bring them in equal status as of everyone else? You can also try to answer me who is going to be the next Chief Justice of India after Mr. Gavai. And if you are preparing for UPSC, TSPSC or APPSC guys, for one-on-one live mentorship with Deepika ma'am, you can join our mentorship program, because every mentor needs an aspirant to make him topper, and every topper has a mentor. We'll meet again if you subscribe. Namaskaram.